Sasha Matthewman and Malcolm Reed are teacher trainers at Bristol University's Graduate School of Education. Clint Michael Renault is an English teacher at Hayden School.
And we relate their answers into a hamburger, in a sense.
In this programme, Malcolm and Sasha are bringing their expertise and eagle eyes
OK, well, that was good.
to analyse elements of Clint's lesson on exam techniques,
What do we refer to the point, quote, comment as?
centring on his use of the point, quote, comment writing structure.
What he's just said here.
Clint's full lesson is available at Uncut Classrooms via the Teacher's TV website.
Today's lesson, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're going to look and see what the examiners expect in your exam responses and see how you can secure at least a C grade and then move further to gain an A to A star grade.
Clint is teaching a mixed ability Year 10 class.
Because you have to think about the examiners and what the examiners want to see in your response, all right? So that's what we're looking at for our aim today with mice and men, getting that response from the C to the A star. And that's what you always really want to push yourself for, is going from that C, at least securing a positive C.
Least case scenario is secure a positive C. Positive C,
What I want us to begin with, what I want us to start thinking about is what elements are needed in an exam response? What elements are needed? Andy, come here, dude.
And this is nice, I mean, that he invites Andy up and asks him to write these things up. So there's a kind of involvement there, isn't there, from the pupils that he's modelling to some degree.
Refer to the question.
Refer to the question, brilliant. Why is it necessary to do that? Why do you always refer back and link back to the question? Yeah, it lets the examiner know that you are focused and you're staying on task. What else is necessary?
Point, quote, comment.
Good. What's the most important part of the point, quote, comment?
Comment.
Exactly. Why is it? What do we refer to the point, quote, comment as? Remember, what's the thing to help you remember it?
Burger.
A burger. Who's the burger? J-Lo. Why is it J-Lo? The comment is the biggest part you need to focus on. The exam's response is the biggest part. That's where all of your marks go. The examiner will be looking at your comment. That's where all the marks go. That's the bottom part of it. J-Lo, the burger.
Just leaving aside the J-Lo analogy, he signals to the class, doesn't he, that he's going to focus on this particular element, point, quote, comment. Now, this is a lesson that's taught across the country, I think, in English departments, and I've seen it taught many, many times. And the thing I agree with him about is that, yes, he has got to emphasise that comment part. That is the most important part, and that is useful to signal that to the pupils. What I think I'd be interested in is how is he going to teach this formula, if you like, this structure, which is a formula for a paragraph. How is he going to put that in context for the pupil? Is it put in context for the pupil? It depends on how it plays out in the lesson,
Absolutely,
really.
yeah.
Sasha rewinds for a second look at Clint's J-Lo analogy.
What do we refer to the point, quote, comment as? Remember, what's the thing to help you remember it?
Burger.
A burger. Who's the burger?
J-Lo.
J-Lo. Why is it J-Lo?
Her bum's best part.
The comment is the biggest part you need to focus on. The exams.
What do you think about that? What do you think about this J-Lo reference?
I'm very uneasy about his use of the J-Lo reference. I mean, I think there's a problem with actually miming, getting your hands round Jennifer Lopez's backside. How, as a teacher, can you make a stand against sexist language if you've stood and done that?
I can see the way in which what he wants is something that is memorable, and in terms of what he's trying to get across of making the comments, you know, the weightiest part of the response,
I think
it's a good idea.
That's
but you could find another metaphor,
it's the analogy which is the problem. The burger is good enough.
Malcolm winds on. For the first activity, Clint gives the class an example of an E-grade answer to a GCSE question on Lenny and George's relationship in Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men.
We see this as an E-grade example. What I would like for you to do is to read it and then point out why it's an E grade, okay? What could they have done to improve it and why it only received an E grade?
He's going out to look. You can see him looking carefully at what people are writing.
Are you coming up with one for both of you? Yeah.
And I wonder
Standing
here
back
whether
and
he's going to the people who need help, because that would be because she didn't have a hand up there, did she?
No.
Whether he knows that this pupil needs some support, and he's got that in his head, which a good teacher will do. They will go to the pupil who they know will need support.
And something that happens in classrooms that teachers sometimes forget, but which is so useful, is that when you've got a relatively quiet classroom like this, then you can be pretty certain. I mean, just before this, a couple of the pupils in the back corner were looking to see, they were listening in to what his intervention was about on this front table.
Yeah.
So there is this transferability across.
Yeah,
That
so
you
you're
don't
helping
have to
one
be taught.
pupil, but actually you're helping the whole group.
He's like backfiring what you just said.
No.
They wind on to where a pupil has just read out the E grade response.
Now, why is that automatically going to get an E? Why would that not get anything else above an E? What are some of the problems there with it? Why is that a weak answer? All right, Tamar. Okay, so no analysis of language at all. All right? Yes, sir.
No connectives.
No connectives at all? Good. Yes, ma'am.
Effect on reader.
The effect on the reader, not there at all. So you're missing out on all of this. And if the point, quote, comment, if the comment is the biggest part of your exam answer, and you have to get all of these things into your exam answer, and the comment part is supposed to be the best part, was the comment part, was that very J-Lo-ish?
Having established what's missing, Clint asks the class to take the same point and quote, and to beef up the comment to C grade. Sasha winds on to see the results.
All in all, we can see that the language implies that George is isolated and alone.
Dude, can we give him a round of applause? I think that was pretty good, yeah? Well done.
Okay, round of applause, yeah, let's value it.
You and your partner did really well with that. You saw what you needed and you were able to tick all those criteria. Well done.
It's very, very exam focused, isn't it? Technique focused. And actually you could do this differently by going back to the text and back to talking about the text and then work this point, quote, comment structure into that. You don't always follow that formula in real writing, do you?
In real writing, well, exactly. And
when I've worked with PGCE students on this, they've been worried that we've got a generation of pupils who are writing in this three-part structure, and it becomes very repetitive when you look at an essay, and actually. It's not just about a three-part structure, it's about a whole text, isn't it? It's about a whole essay, and it's about being able to develop an argument. And I think that's what you can lose here if you just teach it in isolation, if you just teach about point, quote.
But when we think about it, this is a year 10. I think it's probably at the end of year 10. They're still, in a way, rehearsing and thinking about, the strategies that they use. So breaking it down in that way. And the way in which you set this up, that they're using the point and they're using the quotation that is there already, the top half and the middle of the burger. And now what they've got to do is to bump up the bottom part and bump that from E to C. That's neatly thought through.
But if you're going for the A star, which he clearly is, he's trying to push them to A star, they need to be writing more flexibly than that, rather than just, follow a formula. Shall we move it forward?
Let's have a little look. Okay, so we're going to go right through to see. Tell me when you want to stop.
Yeah.
Now flip over, please, to where it says C grade or higher. Now, as a group, I want you to think about this. You've seen the C grade. Pretty good, not bad. But because you are the smartest year 10 group here at Hayden School, I know that you can just absolutely knock it, out of the ballpark, do it even bigger, and get the A to A star grade, okay? So, flip over to the next couple of pages and look at this one.
As before, Clint asks the pupils to read the examples and then, working in groups, to write their own.
Okay, it might be interesting to pause at a point to see how he's intervening in their writing.
Lenny's like holding him back.
So if you're looking at the language of God Almighty, how can that be related to context? What was going on at that time?
The Great Depression.
Yeah, so how could God be linked into that?
When pupils are working in groups, this is such an opportunity for the teacher to really give targeted help, isn't it? To really intervene in writing, to sit with them, to work with them. Don't just stand there looking over the shoulder, get involved with it.
All right, guys, also think about something as well. What was happening in that time period in America? What was so severe of that time period in America? What's up? The Great Depression. Now, how can you take the context of that answer, How can you take the context of the time period and put it into the answer?
He's pointing them in the right direction. It's going to be really interesting to see how this is pulled together in the plenary.
Okay, shall we?
Yeah,
move
let's
forward
try
a
and
bit?
get there.
If I was alone, I could live so easy.
I like that, actually. I like when you're getting pupils to perform, that they're meant to perform properly. They're at the front doing it.
Yeah,
so I like
yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
You know, give it a sense of occasion.
George claims in the quote that life would be easier without Lenny. However, throughout the novel, the reader can see that George needs Lenny in his life despite the way he treats him.
Well done. See, really getting this language and picking it apart. The examiner would love you big style. Good job.
Let's
Good pause here.
Straight on, okay, so this is...
Malcolm has a suggestion of how teachers can fully involve their class in the plenary.
Given that the real point of this is that they should be identifying the elements and evaluating the use of elements, he could have asked one group to kind of listen in for context, one group to listen in for real references and use of quotation, one group to have listened in for connectives and how you make the argument move. Whatever it is.
You could even have a sort of checklist thing that they've got, which they could tick off, you know. If you're going to be formulaic, that would tick off exactly, because he's done everything.
Now, I need you to call on someone in this classroom. Get hands up with something that you have learned in today's lesson, something that you can take away from today's lesson. Think about it, and I need you to call on someone, please. Just randomly put them on the spot, have them tell you what they know. Let's start off with you, Chloe.
I learned to analyse the context well.
Good, context.
Tom.
To refer to the author.
Well done, the author.
Sergeant.
To use a lot of connectives.
Brilliant job. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do this structure, if you follow this structure, the examiners will just give you the A star automatically, and you're going to be brilliant.
OK, so let's sum it up. What do we like about the way that this teacher has run this lesson? What do we think is good about it? I mean, I'd say, I think he's got great presence. I think he's really confident. I think he manages the lesson really very smoothly in many ways.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's absolutely sure about the criteria for examination and what they need to do. And he makes that very clear to them all, highlights it, gets it up on the board. I think they all go out knowing that checklist very well in their head, don't they? They've got that really well.
Yeah, he's got the essentials. And the things that he needs to build on is how he gets feedback when he's doing plenaries and people from the front, which actually bring about reflective thoughts.
And the other thing that I'd like to pick up, and I think it's great the way that he does emphasise the comment part in point, quote, comment.
Good,
But I would like to see more evidence that this is part of a sequence of lessons, that it's not just a decontextualised lesson.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my analogy for this was that he's built a really quite interesting and sophisticated toolkit. All of those essentials are the tools that you need, and that they've practiced this toolkit, you know, and taken it out on a variety of different responses. Now what they really need to go away and do is kind of fix their own bike rather than somebody else's bike. They need to apply those tools to their own work in terms of development.
And it may be that that's something that he goes on to do in subsequent lessons.
Well, I hope so, because they're a really nice, bright class, you know, and he's got that relationship. So that future is all possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Year 10, you are?
Clint's reactions to Sasha and Malcolm's comments can be found on this programme's webpage.
I'll see you later. I'll hold on to these. Bye, guys. Have a good day.